Alrighty, so today we're gonna finally review the four games that happened on Thursday night slash Friday afternoon. And the reason why I said that is because we had one of the game that started on Thursday night, but then it got delayed because of inclement weather and finished on Friday afternoon. And that game is the first one we're gonna talk about, which is FC Cincinnati versus Chivas. I mean, it only took 18 hours for this game to complete, but finally, once it was completed, it was a statement win for FC Cincinnati against Chivas, and really, there was a lot of hype around this game because it is between two teams that is currently leading the standing. Chivas, of course, leading the standings of the Apertura season, while FC Cincinnati leading the league in MLS. And it seemed like Brandon Vasquez kind of took it personally against Chivas, which I mean, it must be a conflicted feeling for him because when he grew up, they mentioned that he was a Chivas fan and that he actually was very close of potentially joining Chivas, but he decided to stay to Cincinnati. And yeah, he definitely put a personal vendetta against Chivas in this one. And it started in the second minute as he would score from Bopenza to make it 1-0 in favor of FC Cincinnati. I gotta say, Aaron Bopenza, he's already become a hit for FC Cincinnati. I mean, it's not very often you see a team that lose one of their more important player, which in this case for Cincinnati is Brenner, for an outbound transfer fee, and they are able to replace for a guy that is equally as good. Now, obviously, it is still early days, but I think Bopenza has been really good so far doing his early time with FC Cincinnati, and yeah, that gives Cincinnati a 1-0 lead. He was trying to get on the score sheet in the fifth minute, but puts it high from close range. It was all Cincinnati. They were forcing Chivas to make some bad mistakes. Chivas was kind of turning the ball over a lot early on. And in the eighth minute, Vasquez would score again. This time he scored from Barrio to make it 2-0 in favor of Cincinnati. This won't be the last time that we will see that combination in this one. But I did thought that Chivas did start to come back to this game with more possession, and Cincinnati was elected to sit back. And in some way, they did a good job in terms of it because Chivas was having a tough time in terms of solving this Cincy back line. And we talk about this Cincy defense, very good this season, and that when you are down 2-0 against this Cincinnati team, it's going to be very hard to try to break them down. There was a shout for a penalty for Cincinnati that was not given, and then a red card happened in the second minute of stoppage time as Giuseppe of the Chivas player get himself sent off after VAR deemed that his foul on Bupenza is considered dog. So now, I'm not going to lie, this is very 50-50 because, I mean, yes, it looks like Bupenza was in on goal there, but at the same time, there was a Chivas defender in the vicinity. I feel like maybe you could say that probably is not considered dog so, and especially with the way that the original call was not dog so, it was actually a yellow card, and that they took a long time in terms of looking at it. And the old saying, when you take a long time to look at on the VAR card, it's probably not clear and obvious, but apparently they said it was clear and obvious that the referee should have gone to his back pocket, and indeed it is the case here. So yeah, for Chivas, they're down to 10 men, second straight Leeds Cup game that FC Cincinnati get a benefit of them being up a man in this one. But we do head to halftime with Cincinnati leading 2-0. In the 51st minute, Guzman Wood puts it wide from long range. Not much really happened on the attack for either of these teams, which I thought that favored Cincinnati because they're just comfortable of riding out this 2-0 win. But then the game was stopped in the 60th minute. It was stopped for inclement weather. Now, at first, I thought, well, is this going to be similar to the last Leeds Cup game where they also had a weather delay that paused for about 30 minutes? So that was not the case. I mean, I was just waiting and waiting and waiting until this game is done. And I was getting to a point where when the final game finally is done, I just thought that, well, eventually this game is going to happen. And once it's finished, I will finally do the review. But nope, this game never resumed. And that, I thought about maybe just do the review for those three games and then do this today. But I decided that, what, I'll just wait for the review until this game is over. So yeah, this game was delay and finally been suspended, and it was delayed actually till Friday at 2 p.m. Now, what's kind of interesting is that by the time this game resumed, there was no fans in the stands, and I don't know if Leeds Cup decided that they were going to play the remaining part of this game behind closed door, which is kind of an interesting decision. I mean, I get it. On a Friday afternoon, you're not going to get a lot of fans attending this game, but I mean, at least maybe give some of those fans a chance to be back in the stands, and especially I wonder whether or not if we're going to see a partial refund because you only pay to watch 60 minutes of the game, and you feel like you maybe be a little bit ripped off, especially with the way I'm pretty sure ticket prices for this game is got to be expensive. I mean, anytime when an MLS team plays against a well-known Liga MX team like Chivas, that is, I'm pretty sure it's going to be very expensive. So yeah, no fans was in the stands. It was played behind closed door, which really kind of gives that COVID vibe. I mean, I still remember back in 2020 in the COVID season where there was no fans in the stadium. It was kind of an odd feeling too. I mean, I know there's been times where you watch some broadcasts like FS1 has done pumping in fake crowd noise, but it just that sounds weird that no fans was in the stands, and I kind of had that feeling once again when this game resumed with no fans in the stands whatsoever. But it didn't take long for us to see the a goal right from the restart. In fact, it only took 1 minute as Brisano would score from Calderon to make it 2-1 in favor of Cincinnati, and it was a nightmare start for Cincinnati, but a dream start from Chivas. It was also an absolute banger there from Brisano there. But yeah, that gives Chivas some life. Vasquez did hits the side netting, but then in the 73rd minute, he would complete his hat trick as he scored here from Barrio to make it 3-1 in favor of Cincinnati. That has probably the longest time to complete a hat trick I've ever seen in an MLS game or involving an MLS team. I mean, can you imagine you're basically sitting on a hat trick? You have to wait a day and then you complete that the very next day. Yeah, that's what Brendan Vasquez did in this moment. We then get some pushing and shoving after goal was scored because again, this is a heated game. I mean, if there's one thing you notice in terms of these MLS versus Liga MX games, there's always going to be at least one moment where there's going to be a coming together, and it just kind of shows you why these games it really matters for both of these teams. Both of these teams really wants to win. Moreno then puts one right to Rangel, and I feel like the goal kind of really took the win out of Sal for Chivas because I thought they kind of had some momentum after they got the goal back, but that third goal was just the dagger for Chivas in this one. And I thought Cincinnati at time they were looking to try to get a fourth goal in this one. But in the end, Cincinnati does win 3-1 in this one. And the shots in this one 13 shots committed, 11 that Chivas had. One shot on goal committed, 6 that Cincinnati has. Both team had 4 shots off target. 3 shots that was blocked with 6 that Chivas had. And possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that Cincinnati has in this game. And yeah, like I said, it's a statement that is being made. And considering, as I said, Chivas has got off to such a great start, and knowing the fact that you would think that they could be one of the favorites because they're coached by Veljko Paunovic, former Chicago Fire head coach. He knows all about facing MLS team. You would think that that would give them the advantage, but no, not in this game. I mean, they really, I think even before the lightning delay, they were getting outplayed in this game for Cincinnati. Though unfortunately, that will not be the case for the rest of the night in terms of MLS team versus Liga MX team. But that being said, moving on into the next game and the only game that did not feature a MLS versus Liga MX kind of battle, but instead an all MLS match is Minnesota versus Chicago. So, in the grand scheme of thing, the Loons was going to move on. I mean, I know later on they announced that they eventually did move on but we already knew that was the case before the ball was even kicked. But still, that being said, Minnesota blew it in this one. This was a typical choke job by Minnesota, and that yeah, I mean that defense and the goalkeeping is that's something I haven't talked a lot about the Loons this season in terms of sometimes I see these frustrating performances where they blew it late in the game, but I think it's definitely something that needs to be more talked about. I mean, I know that's been kind of overshadowed because of how bad this team has been on the attacking end. But now it seems like once they've started finding their stride on the attacking end, it's now the defense that is just completely dropped the ball, and they dropped the ball big time in this game against the Chicago Fire. Now in the first half, I thought the Loons had most of the possession. I thought it was a slow start for the Fire. I mean, they really came out flat in this game. Though there was actually a threat that this game could also be delayed because there was a lot of dark clouds around Allianz Field. I was kind of surprised they did not push back the kickoff for this game because they mentioned in the Twin City area it was like 95 degrees and the humidity pushed it up to 105. Like it was some Texas level kind of heat that the Twin City was experiencing. So I thought that maybe they would think about pushing the kickoff back. Though I will say that I think because it was under a cloud cover and especially under that dark cloud cover, I think that's the reason why they didn't push it back. It was actually a little bit cooler, though it was still really hot weather inside the stadium and also around the Twin City area. But again, there was a threat that this game was going to be delayed because there was a lot of dark clouds around the stadium. Dotson would then hits one right to Richie before Pookie would blast it high on the volley, and then he had a shot that was blocked, but goes right to Arriaga, who pulls it wide. I've already heard some Loons fans have started written off Timu Pookie after these last two games where he hasn't lived up to expectation, and I think that's just crazy. I mean, I understand Timu Pookie, besides that one game he has where he scored the first goal. And announce himself to MLS, and that he hasn't been good. I mean, keep in mind, he still just got to the league. I mean, anytime when you have a player that has a change of scenery and play in a league that he's never played, it's gonna take times. And not to mention Timu Puki, he's still trying to get himself back to fitness because when he was signed with this team in July, his season with Norwich City has already been over. So he had like a month long layoff. So it's not gonna be easy for him to get himself back to match fitness. And I do think that he does bring a lot to this team. And especially I think the other thing that I like about Timu Puki is that even though he's not scoring, he's definitely giving more space to his team. I mean, guys like Longwane and Reynoso are just getting so much space to operate, and this is mainly because teams are just so afraid of Puki that they really want to closely mark them when they realize that, yeah, there's also other threat like Reynoso and Longwane, and especially Longwane too. I think Longwane has been the biggest benefit out of this because he's been finding himself crazy amount of space to operate, and knowing that he is a guy that is very fast and can work well with those space. Yeah, it's not a big surprise. He is definitely tearing apart in this Leeds Cup tournament and in these last couple of games. But that being said, I thought the Loons were pressing for the opener. The Fire was still scrambling at the back, and they really had no answer for Reynoso. I mean, this was another master class from Emmanuel Reynoso, and in these last two games, you can just see what the ceiling that the Reynoso can give to this attack. I mean, it's just think he's even better than when he had that long absence since the begin the season and for the previous couple of seasons because he's not turning the ball over like so many times I've seen from year past. I mean, he's a guy that is on a mission in this one or in this season. But the possession, they did say it's 39 to 61 in favor of the Fire, which I feel like that can't be right. Like there is no way the Fire had more of the possession. With the way how the game is, I feel the Loons had more of the possession. Though Reynoso did put it wide on the free kick as the shots were 6-0 for Minnesota through 20 minutes up to this point. Though Shihos did hit Chicago for a shot in the 22nd minute, he hits that one high before Herbert's blasted high there, and I thought the Fire started to get into this game, and I thought they did a good job in terms of weather that early Minnesota pressure. Though Reynoso did pose it just wide on a curling shot. I mean, that one did not miss by much. Herbert's on the other end hits it wide from close range, but we had to have time scoreless between both of these teams. That would change in the second half because this is when we've seen some pure chaos in these Leeds Cup game, and there definitely was in terms of these games too because we're about to get that. Though first of all, in the 51st minute, Arriaga would puts it just wide on a curling shot before Richie had to deny Reynoso on the front post. The Loons were on the front foot, but the question is, can they finish? Because again, this season I've seen this happen before, and I just had a worry that this is going to be one of those nights again where this team just can't finish, no matter how many chances that they have. Fortunately, though, they did put one away as Longwane would score here from Dotson to make it 1-0 in favor of Minnesota, but that lead quickly diminished because a penalty was given to Chicago as Will Trapp brought down Gutierrez in the box. Yeah, it's been a rough season for Will Trapp, and there's no doubt that he's getting a lot of hate in the Loons fan base, and rightfully so. He hasn't really had a good season, and he has more bad games than he has actually done well, and this one just a lazy challenge there on Gutierrez, and rightfully so a penalty for the Fire, which Shaqiri takes it, he buries it, and that ties the game up at one apiece. But it does not stay tied for long because in the 73rd minute, Longwane would score again. This time he scored from Fragapani to make it 2-1 in favor of Minnesota. So great to see Franco Fragapani back in this team. I mean, he's been dealing with injuries issue this season, but great to see that he's back in the team. But that lead did not last long either because in the 78th minute, Arnel Suke would score for Navarro to tie the game up at two apiece. That was just terrible defending from the Loons. I mean, first of all, the cross coming in from Navarro, nobody dealt with it. And then, Dane St. Clair, I don't think he did a good job in terms of coming out and trying to palm that one away. He kind of caught off his lines. And even though Suke still had a lot to try to put in an empty net from the tight angle, yeah, that was a situation that he makes no mistake, and that yeah, that ties the game up at two apiece. Kamara then puts it over the board, and I thought the momentum was with the Fire. I mean, they were looking to try to get the lead in this one, and they do. And it's that guy again, Kai Kamara. I mean, he's been an absolute killer this season against Minnesota, and he scored here from Pineda to make it 3-2 in favor of Chicago. There's no wonder why a lot of Loons fans hate Kai Kamara because, I mean, I can understand because when Kai Kamara was with Minnesota, he barely did anything, but this season he's been having a renaissance kind of season. But that probably shouldn't happen. Was actually being marked there. I mean, just no marking whatsoever there from Kai Kamara. Like the guy that is probably the most dangerous in terms of his aerial ability. Maybe you should think about marking him too. I mean, that was just unbelievable bad defending from Minnesota, but also one that again I feel like Dane Sinclair should have done better. I mean, Dane Sinclair he's been very inconsistent this season, and this was one of his bad game again. I mean, just for the header from Kamara, it wasn't really powerful. Dane Sinclair got something to it, but just not enough to parry that one away. So yeah, the meltdown complete for Minnesota, but the comeback definitely complete for Chicago as they now lead at 3-2 in this game, and it feels like Mother Nature have seen enough. Like not only a lot of people are stunned about this, I'm pretty sure Mother Nature was kind of angry about how much Minnesota just completely choked in this one. So the thunderstorm started to happen. So we got into a weather delay right as the goal was scored from Kai Kamara to make it 3-2, and that's probably the worst time to do so because yeah, now you're down 3-2 in a game where I'm pretty sure those players are kind of stunned that they found themselves 3-2 down, and now they're gonna have to think about it for a very long time. They only have to think about it for 37 minutes as the game resumed, and in the last 5 minutes, it was a relatively empty Allianz Field. I mean, I don't blame the fans for leaving the stadium. I mean, it was a relatively hot night, but I kind of saw this coming, knowing that yeah, if I wasn't actually doing the review of these games, I probably wouldn't have turned the game back on. But Kutsias did hit one right to Dane Sinclair before in the second minute stop time. Richie had to deny Arriaga from close range, and that was a stinger from Arriaga, but great save there from Spencer Richie, who had a really good game in this one. And yeah, in the end, Chicago, they come from behind and win 3-2 in this one. As the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 10 that Chicago has, 5 shots on goal compared to 4 that the Fire has, 4 shots off target compared to 8 that Minnesota has, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that the Fire has, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that Minnesota has in this one. And the funny thing coming out of this game, I believe Minnesota is they punched their ticket because they have a better goal differential even with this loss, but Chicago hasn't punched their ticket despite the fact that they have a +1 goal differential and got all 3 points and tied with Minnesota in this. I mean that just shows you how this Leagues Cup tournament is very weird in terms of who is now moving on and who is not. But nevertheless, even in the grand scheme of thing, when things are doesn't matter. I mean, again, this is a frustrating one because they absolutely should have won this one. The defense. This has started to become a bit of a concern, and this is also kind of a little bit sums up of the same problem they had last season, where as soon as the scoring is happening, the defense started to be bad. But as soon as the scoring is not there, the defense is great. There's just no consistency between both the attack and the defense, and yeah, that's kind of the life of being a Minnesota United fan. Just unfortunately frustrating. There's always something that doesn't go right, and it's very rare to see this team click on all cylinder. But for Chicago, I mean, again, you gotta give a lot of credit to Frank Kopas, and especially, again, I know Fire fans will continue to say that this is just a false hope, and they're gonna eventually come back down to earth. They haven't done so. I mean, this has been a red hot form that the Fire has had. I think this is now their sixth win in the last 7 games, and the fact that they have this come from behind ability just to shows you how good, how hot this team is, and they're definitely defeating that narrative of they're not doing a very Chicago Fire-esque kind of moment, both at home and on the road. But that being said, moving on in the next one. So we got another crazy game between Nashville versus Toluca because yeah, I mean this was a game where it was back and forth and momentum was just swinging left and right. I mean momentum was like clockwork in this one. It was swinging left and right and ultimately Toluca was able to outlast Nashville in this one, and this is very rare that you see Nashville get into a shootout like this. So early on, the goal scoring party started in the third minute as Walker Zimmerman would score from Lovitz to make it 1-0 in favor of Nashville, and that was just kind of Nashville's bread and butter. You know that Walker Zimmerman is a dangerous man in the box, and Toluca didn't get that memo because they left him wide open and they were punished. And yeah, just like that, 1-0 in favor of Nashville. They started to kind of drop into a low block, which was kind of questionable. I mean, I get it. Yes, Gary Smith team tends to like to drop a low block and trying to play on the transition, but they were also asking Toluca to see if they can break them down, and we know that this Toluca team has that ability on the attacking end to score goals, and they definitely show it by the end of tonight. Panenko then denied Dominguez, who was on goal, and then on the other end, Pico puts it into the back of net. The problem was the flag did not agree with him, so the goal was disallowed for offside. I love how Papa Pico even make the VAR signal, which I think if you did that in the other league, you would actually get a yellow card, but apparently in the Leeds Cup tournament, if you do that VAR symbols, it doesn't really mean that much. But nevertheless, it was a big moment because just 1 minute later, after it looked like Nashville took the 2-0 lead, Toluca would tie it. It's Ruiz scoring from Araujo to tie the game up at one apiece. Morales then puts it wide from close range, and the momentum was with Toluca. They were looking to try to get another goal, but instead, it's Nashville that gets the lead back. And it's Fafa Biko. This time he was not denied by the flag as he scored here from Schaffelberg to give Nashville a 2-1 lead. That lead only lasted 7 minutes because Ruiz would score again. This time he scored for Morales to tie the game up at two apiece. And then a minute later, a penalty was given to Toluca as Mio actually handballed that one in the box. They actually did go to the VAR to check whether or not it was inside the box. It was pretty clear that it was inside the box, and it was also kind of close to being on the line, but it really doesn't matter in the end. It was a penalty for Toluca, and then we started to see something you usually never seen whenever you see a team take a penalty, which is the goalkeeper takes the penalty. And they mentioned before how this is kind of the special. He's kind of like a penalty kick specialist. The Toluca goalkeeper Volpe, and he just shows you why. I mean, that was just an emphatic penalty there from Volpe. And they also mentioned that's his third goal of the season. It actually leads the team in terms of goals. I mean, how many times you get to say that a team leading goal scorer is your goalkeeper? I mean, that's something you usually never see happen, but that's kind of the case with Toluca and Volpe. He's been kind of a cult hero in that Toluca fan base. And then of course we get some coming together because why not? Why not? With the way how this game was just completely off the rails, and it feels like this first half never ends. It was actually 4 minutes of stoppage time. We win almost 10 minutes of stoppage time in this one, and that why not have it coming together? Why not start to kind of chirp at each other because it's an MOS versus Liga MX matchup. And that I've also said this have reached Leeds Cup peak Leeds Cup mode. I mean, it was just completely crazy of how that first half ended. But we do head to halftime with the score somehow 3-2 in favor of Toluca. In the second half, Toluca continued to dominate possession, and Nashville was kind of pinned deep. They can't really go on the transition very much. Though Mukhtar did fire it high from close range, the Ole chant broke out from the many Toluca fans. There was a lot of Toluca fans in the stands in this one, though. I thought the attendance it was kind of disappointing. I mean, I know. They mentioned before Nashville that did include this game as part of the season ticket holder, which I feel like, well, if that's the case, then I would assume there would be more fans attend this game. But no, they announced this attendance was something like below 20,000, and again, and I could tell too because the upper deck was just completely empty, but the lower deck there was a lot of fans in there. I'm not sure if maybe Nashville closed the upper deck, was the reason why the upper deck was kind of empty, but yeah, there was a lot of red in that stadium, and they were making a lot of noise. Volpe then denied more from close range in the 58th minute, but then in the 61st minute, Morales would score to make it 4-2 in favor of Toluca. So game over, right? Nope. Bunbury then looked for an instant response, but it was clear off the line because why not? This game has to have everything. And the 71st minute, Hawkinson would score from Schaffelberg to make it 4-3 in this one. So yeah, it was back and forth as we go. I mean, the momentum now with Nashville, they were pressing to try to tie the game up. Hawkinson looked to do so in the 83rd minute, but he heads that one wide. But then in the 85th minute, it seems like the momentum that Nashville has was cut short because Bunbury would get himself sent off here, and this was a rare sequence where we see a second yellow card due to dissent. You usually don't see a second yellow card for dissent happen very often unless it's something a player egregiously said, and we'll never know what Bunbury said to the referee, but it must be egregious enough for him to get a second yellow card. Panenko then denied Angulo in the 86th minute, and then McNulton hits it wide from close range. So yeah, Nashville, despite down a man, they were still pushing forward. We then see another coming together because again, why not? In a game that is heated like this and off the rail, why not have another coming together moment? And then in the 8th minute of stoppage time, Panenko did deny Raul from close range, and yeah, in the end, Toluca they hold on to win 4-3 in this one. The shots in this one, 16 shots for the 12 that Nashville has, 5 shots on goal for the 9 that Toluca has, 5 shots off target for the 4 that Toluca has, 2 shots out of block compared to 3 that Toluca has, and possession-wise, 61% possession compared to 39% possession that Nashville has in this game. Just pure chaos in terms of what we saw in this game. I mean, I think between this game and the game between Cincinnati and Sporting KC are two of the craziest games I've seen in this Leeds Cup tournament. And as I will mention later, when I think look at some of the things I've learned so far in these Leeds Cup games, some of these games are just absolutely insane. Like some of these games are just next level insanity in terms of so many things that happen. And if you thought that in these Leeds Cup tournament, you think this is just a glorified friendly and these players don't care, yeah, they care. I mean, and they care in a big way with how intense these games has been, and this was just another example of it. But unfortunately, Nashville does come out on the losing end. But moving on, in terms of the last match on this board, and we finally had the first team that got eliminated from the Leeds Cup tournament, and you wouldn't think St. Louis City would be that team that unfortunately take the undubious honor of becoming the first team to get eliminated from the Leeds Cup tournament, but that's what happened in this one, as they lost 4-0 in this one against Club America, and this was not close whatsoever. I mean, this was one of the most one-sided Leeds Cup tournament game we have seen, and a game that, yeah, maybe that this will give an argument to a lot of Liga MX fans will say, yeah, so many people talk about how MLS have closed the gap on Liga MX. Yeah, this game is a complete shows a complete falsery in terms of MLS has really make up some gap against Liga MX. And that destruction started in the 4th minute as Henry Martins would score from Quinones to make it 1-0 in favor of Club America. It was all Club America early as St. Louis was pinned deep, and that would pretty much was the storyline throughout this game. Reyes then struck the post from close range. Berkey then denied Suarez from close. There was a shout for a handball not given for St. Louis, and then Quinones heads it wide, despite the fact that he had a free header there. I mean, it was just total domination for Club America. The way that they work on the attack, it was like watching Man City and Barcelona prime way of how they attack. They just completely torn apart the St. Louis midfield and defense. And you know how St. Louis, they're no more of a pressing team. Yeah, that press was not next to non-existent in this one. I mean, Club America, the way that they work so fast on the attack, that press was pretty much invincible. There was really no time for the press to really get into to Club America before they already bypassed the initial press and just found acres of space to work on the other end. And you can kind of hear it too from the crowd. I mean, it was a very quiet crowd. I mean, yes, there was a couple of yellow jersey, though I still think about 80% of the fans inside the stadium was rooting for St. Louis, and they were bouncing early in this game. Like it was a very loud crowd. You just feel like this had that playoff kind of knockout round atmosphere, but it was quickly damper with the way that St. Louis was just getting absolutely outplayed by one of the most well-known team in the world of soccer. But in the 26th minute, Fidalgo would then puts it wide from close, and at the hydration break, you can see Roman Berkey. He had some choice words with his team, and I don't blame him because he has to be absolutely fuming at his team, and especially his backline and midfield. Just pretty much it's completely left him hung out to dry up to this point. But whatever he said, it didn't work because Club America continued to dominate. Suarez would then hit one right to Berkey. The shots were 7-2 in favor of America through 35 minutes. The Ole chant was started to be broken out inside City Park again. There was still a good sizable crowd that was supporting Club America. And then Leuven did hit one right to Maligan. That was the first shot on goal for St. Louis up to that point. And we head to halftime. Despite the fact that Club America was still so dominant, they were still leading 1-0. And you're thinking, well, yeah, St. Louis, they've been absolutely outplaying this one, but maybe they can change. Nope. In the second half, pretty much the same thing. It was a total dominance from Club America, and they would make it 2-0 as Quinones would score from Leo Suarez to make it 2-0 in favor of Club America. Sanchez then blasted high from close range, and then Alvarez would score to make it 3-0 in favor of Club America in the 53rd minute. Maligan did deny Pompeo from close range. We then get some coming together because, again, it's an MLS Liga MX match. We're going to have to at least have one moment where there's going to be some coming together, especially you can see those St. Louis players, they were getting tired of chasing shadow in this game. And then in the 77th minute, it will be 4-0 in favor of Club America. It's Zendejas, the U.S. men's national team player. He scored from Suarez to make it 4-0 in favor of Club America. By the way, this is when I kind of stopped really keeping too much attention to this game. I mean, I know this was the only game that was still in hand, but this was just so one-sided that it was tough to watch as an MLS fan of seeing how a Liga MX team just absolutely destroyed an MLS team in every aspect of the game. Layun then puts it wide on the free kick, and yeah, in the end, there was only 2 minutes of stoppage time, which I'm pretty sure St. Louis City is very happy that that is the case because yeah, this was by far, I would say, the worst game that St. Louis City has had, but also a combination of one of the best games that I've ever seen Club America play. And I have seen a couple of the games that they have played, especially against MLS team. I have not seen it at this level. This was just peak Club America when they're at their best. They're absolutely unstoppable, and they were just hitting on all cylinder in this one. And that could be a scary thing too, because I think the way that Club America play in this one, I don't see a lot of team can slow down. And this is even with some of these top tier Liga MX team. I mean, with how Club America play in this one, there's not a lot of team in the CONCACAF region or even in the world can stop how Club America play in this one. And the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 9 that St. Louis had, 4 shots on goal compared to 7 that Club America has, 7 shots off target compared to 4 that St. Louis had, 2 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that St. Louis had, and possession-wise, 61% possession compared to 39% possession that St. Louis has in this game. But yeah, for St. Louis, they're now out of the Leagues Cup tournament, and this is where it gets difficult for them because now they got a long break before their next game against Austin. They don't have another game until August 20th, almost a whole month. Before their next MLS game, and this is kind of also one of the concern I would say about coming into this Leagues Cup tournament, where once those MLS teams get eliminated, have to wait a long time before we get to competitive action, and that could be a problem when you have that long of a break in terms of getting yourself back to match fitness. Kind of something similar to that COVID shortened season where we had a long pause for a bit before things were resumed. It was very stop and go in terms of how things is going. And I would say that maybe the only silver line for St. Louis is that at least maybe this will be time for them to get healthy, because they've been battling with a lot of injuries lately. But at the same time, I mean, just a long break and a long time for them to have to painfully swallow this defeat, because yeah, I mean this was just a total beatdown and a lesson that Club America has sent to St. Louis and really sent to MLS, that maybe Liga MX in terms of some of the best team in Liga MX, the top tier teams in Liga MX are still going to dominate against even some of the better MLS team like what we see for St. Louis City this season. Well, there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of looking at all 4 of these Leagues Cup tournament game from Thursday slash Friday afternoon. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. And the good thing about me doing the review now is the fact that we don't actually have a game on Friday, so that's another reason why I decided to review and wait until this game finish on Friday afternoon. But until then, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.